Hello, Beans Corner. Wanted to give you a little update and just talk for a minute about where we're at, where we're going, and what we're doing. And then I'm going to show you a little preview of our series that we're starting this Sunday and going to be doing for really the rest of this year, pretty much. So if you haven't already gotten the news, we did have an exposure where a person turned out, after they had attended one of our events, had turned out to have the coronavirus, had COVID-19, tested positive after attending an event. And that person was exposed when they attended a different event where a person who knew they had been exposed decided not to worry about it, not to consider it a big deal, and attended an event anyway and spread it to vulnerable people. Now, as of this recording, praise the Lord, partially because we have been taking this very seriously, and the event that the person attended was a purple event, which is full masks and distancing. As of this time, we know of no spread. We're still watching, and people who were at that event are quarantining. But we want to emphasize that whether or not you personally want to worry about this virus or feel concerned about this virus or concerned for yourself, that this is not an issue about self. This is an issue about loving our neighbor and loving our community and being careful. And that is what we're going to do. We are staying out of the politics of it. This virus doesn't care about Republicans or Democrats. It's just a virus, just like every other virus. And it's not an American virus. And so if you think, well, this is all about America or American politics, it's not. The whole world, Europe, my friends in Australia are all struggling with how to deal with this virus, which is not as scary as some say and more scary than others say. And we're just going to take it seriously. We will not be governed by fear, but we will also not be governed by foolishness. And for us at Beans Corner, as we want to love our neighbor, and we want to not be a place where we contribute to the spread of this virus, because while there are many who will be able to handle getting this virus, there are many more who cannot. And sometimes you don't know ahead of time which category you're in or your loved ones are in. We also do not want to be responsible for having enough spread that our dear friends who are in healthcare, and we have many, even within our congregation and our community, who work at doctors' offices and hospitals, that if many get sick, and so that even a small percentage therefore begin to overwhelm our medical facilities, that is very unloving to the people who have to care for them and who have to put themselves at risk to care for the rest of us. And if our facilities get overloaded, well, then what happens when people are sick with something else and still have their normal medical issues that we all sometimes have, especially as our bodies break down? So I just want to mention that as we come together, if you believe you've been exposed or you know you've been exposed, please wait until you know you are not carrying it, even asymptomatically. If you've been exposed, do the quarantine the best you can. I know it's hard to stay away and it's hard to shut yourself down. I don't like doing it either, but let's do that. If you have symptoms and you think, well, maybe it's just a cold or maybe it's just a flu, I hope that you're right, and I hope it is. But until you know the difference, don't come, because we just cannot afford to share sickness with one another, and this is so contagious. By doing these small things, it helps us love one another. Help us do that. So we are going to be emphasizing yet again the wearing of masks. And you say, well, I hate masks. Me too. Yet last Sunday I preached in a mask and I sang in a mask, and I have asthma. And so if I can preach and sing in a mask, you can too, for just a little while. If you say, well, I'm unwilling to, that's okay. That's why we have the video stream. That's why we have many opportunities to worship in ways that you can do it however you want. But the way of the cross, the way of Jesus, is not let me do whatever I want. Jesus didn't do what he wanted. He did what he didn't want to do. He limited his rights. He limited his power. He limited being right, and was allowed himself to be made sin so that we would benefit, so that we would have life. And so if it means that for an hour I wear a mask while I preach or sing, That seems a small thing to do, especially compared to what Jesus has done for me. We're going to try to keep up with the distancing and be really careful in distancing, and we are going to limit how much time we spend indoors together, because one of the things we are learning is that the longer that we are in a confined space, the better the chance we have to share the virus. And so whether it be in our communities or continuing with our Sunday morning time together, we're going to be trying to limit it to an hour or less. I know this isn't what you want. This isn't what I want. And every time I bump up against what I want and my deep, deep desire to go back to what we call normal, I am reminded that that feeling of I don't like it makes me more like Jesus, who spent all night in the garden before the crucifixion saying, Lord, let's not do this. But then he did it anyway. And we can do this. We can, for this time, find different ways and change our habits here and there, and even inconvenience ourselves for the sake of each other, for the sake of our community. And even when we have to give up things that we don't want to give up, and boy, I feel that. Our attitude and our heart cannot be about ourselves. Not if we name the name of Christ. It can't be about fighting for ourselves if we understand who Jesus is and what he did for us. And so if you say, I don't like it, that's okay, neither do I. If you want to fight and be negative about it, well, that's your call. And that's something for you to examine your own heart about. As for me, we're going to try to do the best we can to accommodate people and be safe. And be the church. And with that, I want you to watch this little trailer about what we're going to be studying for the rest of this year, Sunday morning, but it's going to go far beyond that. This affects why we do communities and the fact that we need communities. It affects everything it is, because the question we have to ask is church something you go to, or is church something you are? So watch this trailer, and I hope you'll join me over the next several weeks, and let's work together to love God, love our neighbor, love our enemy, love one another the way Jesus has loved us. I love you. I miss how it was, but I'm going to embrace how it is and what it means for me to love you. There's nothing new with us being divided as humans, whether it's economic, racial, national, or just the fact that sometimes we just have trouble getting along with one another. Throughout human history, we have struggled, and we have pulled apart, and we have looked at each other with suspicion, anger, hurt, and yet, being friends, having community, wanting to belong is so central to who we are. In this day and age, our country and our world is even more torn apart by anger, division, differences, and distrust. And in the context of that, so many are struggling, sad, depressed, anxious, lonely. We need to come together, or we will come apart. This is what God gave us in the church, in the people of God. But sometimes even the people of God have been divided, angry, and have come apart. Join me as together on Sundays we will look at what does it mean to come together or come apart. And let us examine as a church, not just on Sunday morning, but through a winter where virus and illness and weather may keep us physically distanced, to make sure that we are coming together and not coming apart. I hope that you'll join me on this journey together. Thank you.